Fixing busted plastic pipes, inside and out. William Hovey Smith, 2025.
This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. And we are still recovering from the effects of our last hard freeze, which came after we had experienced Hurricane Helene. What happened was the pipe to this faucet busted, and so I lost water here, and incidentally I do have water inside my office here and lost that as well. So I was up around midnight down underneath the house capping off a pipe, which we did successfully, and so we've had water in the house ever since. But there were some things I was lacking. In particular, a turn-off valve underneath the house. So if this happened again, I didn't have to come out here in freezing weather and repair something. And I also needed to replace the connection here outside. So we have turned off the water in the house, and we have drained as much as we could out of the piping. So I'm going to go underneath the house now and actually put in the valve and close that, connect that up, let that set well, and then come out and replace this faucet.
Knowing I would return, I left all my tools down here. So hopefully everything I have, now that I have that valve, I have on me or about me. Now you see the vertical pipe standing, and I've removed it. I removed the wrapping from it, and that's where the bottom portion of that new valve will go. Of course, I'm going to have to trim it a little bit because the valve itself has a little space in it, and I don't have an inch of flex in that pipe. So that's the only touchy part about it, is making sure I get the trim right. A canine assistant here is coming in to help. I'm going to dig her out of bed and lay down. You see a bit of the problem, and you see the plug I have, and that bit of half-inch pipe that's connecting it. So what I have to do is cut out that plug, let that drain, prepare that upper surface of half-inch pipe, and then cut the other piece of pipe so that the valve will fit in there. And I don't have much flexibility in this system. Now we have that cut and water drainage, which is to be expected. Yeah. Now, of course, if I hadn't closed off the pump, yeah, that would still be pouring magnificently. But, yeah, we have a little down at the bottom, and the pipe is wet. So that means we have to dry it and clean it. And we have some sandpaper here we're going to do the cleaning with. And we cut it off with a hacksaw. We have another problem. That short length of PVC pipe going down to the ground is well anchored. It's in a bigger piece of pipe down there, and it goes through the concrete block up there. And it's not flexible enough for me to get enough bend in it to get any amount of decent bearing surface inside that valve. Consequently, I'm going to have to cut it and then use a sleeve so I can get some proper seating. Since this is going into the valve itself, I'm going to have to be very careful about the amount of cement I put on here. If it runs down in the valve ball, then I will never be able to move that valve. Okay, well, that much is in. My worst fears here have been realized. When I pulled on that pipe, the join going to the other pipe that goes underneath my porch has snapped. I do have that elbow, I think, but I need to go in town and get the joining piece. So we'll go and work on the outside for a while. We're going to attempt to complete our outside and under house plumbing repairs today. And I'm in the shop, and we have a piece of pipe to prepare before we take it under the house, as well as the external faucet to fix. So we're going to do these and do the external faucet first, and then go underneath the house and work and see if we can replace this and hook up a turn on off valve. As you can see, this pipe broke off underground, and it broke off right at the junction of the elbow. So I want to make a clean cut here, and then we will reinstall a new elbow. And in the process, we're going to lose about this much pipe length. Okay, that's done. All right. Now I'm going to take some sandpaper and run it around this surface, smooth it, and then we will actually glue it on. This happens to be a 400 grit aluminum oxide abrasive. I want to get anything out of there I can so it doesn't get in and block the valve. I'll use a little bit of acetone to clean that. Now we can apply the cement. Attach our connection. All right. Now that can sit there quite happily, and we will let that set. The other end of the pipe was cut with a slight angle, so we're going to true it up to square with this file. Okay. Maybe not exactly perfect, but better. All right. And we're going to also dress these surfaces. Okay, so that provides a clean bearing surface for the adhesive. On our faucet connection, we have some joint tape here. So we're going to put a wrap around these threads and then install them here. And when you're clamping this into the vise, you cannot put too much pressure on this part or you'll crack it. We had to change vices so we could be sure and clamp on this brass part to get enough turn on those threads to make sure that that faucet was fully seated. Well, that's all the stress I think I dare put on it. So I believe we're going to call that one good. Moving outside, I'm going to cut that pipe shorter below where you see the present join. And that will give less exposure to wind and perhaps help it a little bit. And then we will affix it to that cedar stub I've got driven into the ground and cover it up with pine straw and other stuff. So perhaps give it a better chance of surviving if we have another freeze yet this year. Well, that was successfully done without breaking any of the numerous joints there on that connection. The lateral pipe going off to the left is one that takes water to a sink in my library. So we want to get that established. And having the external faucet is also extremely useful, of course, for watering the dogs as well as for safety, since I am now actively burning waste wood from Hurricane Helene.
Although most of my working life was scattered all over North America and in Alaska, restoring this house from a state of absolute dilapidation to a place where I could actually live in, write in, and hunt out of was something that I had as a goal since high school. So as I had a little money, I would put it in the house. I went ahead and bought the rest of the heirs' interest out of it, so I owned it in fee, and slowly restored it over the decades. So finally I came when, in older age, I'm here. And all of my books and screenplays were practically written in this house. So, if you happen to have the good fortune to inherit family land and inherit a house, well, this is what I did. I don't necessarily say this is economical. It would have been more economical to have torn the place down and put up a trailer, for example. But it's what I did and what worked out for me.
Once we excavated underneath the house, we have discovered that our pipe, once cut, was just 1/4 inch too long to fit easily into our valve without the use of an intermediate connector, and that's good. The foam around that pipe allows enough movement for me to wedge it underneath and push it up into the valve. So that's what we're going to be attempting to do. Well, we have it all installed, and it went as planned. I took 1/4 inch off that vertical pipe, the new one, well, the original one, I should say. And put the bottom connector in, and then the top one fit in, and it slipped all the way up into the valve seat. So, just let it sit there. I'm going to have some lunch, come back and wrap everything up. Well, we're at the moment of truth now. Will this valve turn? It did. And there was a rush of water. Excellent. And down at the bottom, I'm not seeing any water leaking. Well, how succeeded. Well, so now we'll just wrap up all this stuff and get our stuff out of here. Well, the under-house water has now been fixed, and we'll see if this will do. It certainly should. Yes. I hear water going out the other end of the hose. No leaks here. No, that is restored. And we now have water running fiercely inside the library. Success. Hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Goodbye and God bless.